Hey everybody, it's Rockula, and welcome back to Rockula Retrospective. This is the weekend re-review of Season 6, Episode 1 of The Walking Dead, titled First Time Again. So, really excited about the new season. They kicked it off with a bang. Doesn't look like they took very long to get into the action, did they? Well, obviously, if you notice behind me, there's green screen. So I'm going to start trying to use green screen in this season of The Walking Dead. And we're starting off here. So give me a little time to learn the curve and everything. So let's start with the green screen now. First of all, let me point out that I did a live reaction review with my friend Meat Pie, and you can catch that right here. We did a reaction video and a review video, but because of my 15-minute time limit, I had to cut it into 2 videos so you can watch those here. Now, this weekend re-review, if you haven't watched my reviews from last season, and by the way, you can catch the last season's reviews here. If you haven't seen my reviews from last season, what I do is a reaction review, and then I'll go and look at all of the different YouTubers that are covering The Walking Dead, and I will also talk about the people that are participating in my channel on the comments. And also, I have a Facebook group called DeadTubers. So please go to Facebook DeadTubers and check us out and join the DeadTubers family. It's for YouTubers that talk about The Walking Dead and people who watch them. Okay, so I'm going to go into the skinny about the main points of the show and what pretty much everybody has agreed upon. But first I want to address the biggest glaring topic, and it's not even a common sense moment to me. This is a completely thrown away opportunity, and that is the Walker Pit. Now, I did a video about it, and I don't want to repeat myself too much. So watch that video. The core of it is, I think they should have used some kind of a flammable liquid. You know, they should have gone with Carter's plan, really made the exits secure again, and then dropped some Molotov cocktails with flammable liquid in there. And a lot of the people's responses to that were, well, they're not going to have enough to spare to burn all those walkers. But I did a little research, and it turns out that a dead body, first of all, the rotting clothes will catch fire. Second of all, the dry skin on the top of their body will catch fire quickly. Then underneath the flesh, you've got muscles and fat, which will burn a lot longer. And the article that I read said that some people with lots of excess fat on their body would actually burn for about 7 hours. So I think that my point is completely valid on what Rick should have done with the Walker Pit. Okay, the one hidden point, and because you know they always try to hide things from us, but they leave them right out in the open because they're not really hiding it from us. They want us to work a little bit on it, but there's the one thing everybody agrees on, and that's the scene with Glenn and Maggie, where Glenn's talking to Maggie about keeping an eye on Deanna. But then she says, well, there's another reason, or that's not the only reason. And we all know it's because Maggie's pregnant. And by Walking Dead rules, that means Glenn's going to die or Maggie's going to die. One of the two. Looks like Deanna's coming around, because when she's looking up at Gabriel at the very beginning of the episode, she looks at him and says, "You're wrong. So she is really starting to come around when she had the thing about Pete getting buried with everybody else. I didn't think that that was so much related to survival. It was just her own inner darkening. So I think Deanna is pretty much squarely on Rick's side and has no qualms about the ruthless tactics that Rick will employ in the future. Here's another point. Where the hell did they get helium for the balloons? I mean, yeah, I'm sure that there's helium all over the place, but, you know, that's kind of a stretch. All right, let's address the common sense moment of the episode, and obviously it was supposed to be the Walker pit, but that got way out of hand. So here's my common sense moment. When they were scouting out the escape plan, I don't know if it's an escape plan, it's just where they're going to send the walkers. There was a tractor store, and they're like, oh man, these walkers are going to cause noise and distract the walker stream off the path. Well, how many people were there? Look up in this scene right here and count how many people are there. How many of those people could have taken care of those walkers right then? But no, they left it to where you're going to do it later. And of course, just like in everything else that has a common sense issue in The Walking Dead, if people weren't fuck-ups, then people wouldn't die and we'd have 100 people on the cast. Let's address a couple of things with Rick. First of all, when Reg and Pete are being buried, he uses the word killer to describe Pete. And that opens the door for Morgan and the rest to go, well, we're all killers. I think he should have used the word murderer, because killing to survive and killing in self-defense is different than an alcohol-fueled rage where you kill somebody. That's murder, not killing or self-defense. So that was something to kind of cast doubt in the other people's eyes. But you get to the point where he walks in on Carter holding the gun on Eugene, and he intimidates the crap out of Carter, but decides not to shoot him in the head. And I think that kind of gave everybody back a little bit of confidence in Rick, and it kind of staved off a little bit more of their misgivings. So let's talk about the conversation between Michonne and Morgan when they're standing there waiting for the herd to hit the curve. And he brings up, did you eat one of my protein bars? There was one more peanut butter left. And she lied and said that she didn't. I thought that was, you know, we're still trying to address how to get to know Morgan a little bit better. And he was a raging paranoid maniac the second time we saw him. Obviously, the first time was in the first season, but when we came upon him and he was sitting there in his fortified bunker, he was a raging maniac. So I thought that they were just making Morgan have little flashes of insanity, but I did my research and everybody, corrected me, and they're like, yep, she took his peanut butter protein bar. Okay, so I understand why everybody hates Nicholas, but let's talk about the reoccurring theme of forgiveness that ran through the last episode of episode 5 of season 5, and that was obviously Glenn forgiving Nick, taking him back, and Maggie and Tara forgiving, was that Maggie and Tara? No, whoever, Maggie and Sasha forgiving Gabriel. I think that Nicholas has started to prove himself, and my prediction is that, he's turned around too. I see him giving his life up to save the group, either jumping in front of some walkers or volunteering for the suicide mission where you're not coming back. So everybody give Nicholas a break. He'll be dead pretty soon anyways. Is Carol interfering with Rick's sense of reality? Seems like whenever she gets Rick alone, it's usually during a low point in what's going on. She simultaneously she'll raise him up. Like this episode, she told him that he was in charge. But it seems like whenever she does it, and like last season, she called him Sunshine and said, you can't have both. And it seems like she is simultaneously building him up and kind of undercutting him with a patronizing tone. So I brought it up last time, is she still getting way too caught up in her personality that she's projecting on the rest of the Alexandrians? Because I thought it was really friggin' obvious when she's like, oh, that sounds terrifying. I mean, come on. That's like somebody that gets, somebody on cops and they're like, that crack pipe in my car wasn't mine. Where did that come from? It was so obvious. So I think Carol is starting to lose the act, and some of her rough edges are starting to show through. So let's go back to this point about Nicholas, when you have Maggie and Tara talking about what Nicholas did, not only to Noah, but to Glenn. And here we go again with forgiveness. And it also shows the kind of relationship that the Atlanta group, or all of our main group, has. And that is, other than Rick, they see each other as equals. So Maggie's like, okay, I told you all this stuff. Now, you choose whether or not you want to go to the rest of Alexandria and tell everybody what Nicholas did. And when she said, I'm going to follow your lead, it ties in again to this thing about forgiveness, where you're not going to be able to forgive anybody if somebody forces you or tells you to. You have to truly want to forgive somebody in order to actually forgive them. So that just kind of drives home the point that, you can hate him all you want to, and you can want him to die and all that stuff, but if you don't forgive him honestly, then you're never going to get away from wanting him to die. And they think that he's going to be a valuable member of the group soon, probably by killing himself or sacrificing himself. Okay, well, let's talk about Abraham. Abraham's little jaunt into the woods reminded me a lot of a scene. Well, the jaunt into the woods was kind of funny, but when he came back, he had this kind of out of control, psychotic laughing, wooing, and all that stuff. And that reminds me of the scene in Dawn of the Dead. And forgive me, I should have done my research and gotten their names, but the blonde guy in Dawn of the Dead, when they're in the truck yard and they're getting trucks to take them over to the mall, he's getting overconfident and enjoying it and wooing it up and everything. And he jumps in the truck. And of course, what happens? Gets bit on the leg. So here's the question for all of you guys. Do you think Abraham is going to get sloppy and get bit?